So this was a really interesting fight. For people who watch my pre-fight videos, you'll know that I picked Quillin as a very, very, very strong favourite, and I thought he was most likely to win on points and win by knockout. Now the fight started just as I expected it to. Quillin seemed to be a real accurate puncher. He floored Andy Lee once in the first round. There was another knockdown right on the bell of the second round. That was judged not to be a knockdown. That's very, very relevant because based on the judges' scorecards, had Quillin got an extra point there, won that round 10-7, he would have won this fight. Quillin effectively was able to land with accuracy, and it was clear to my eye anyway that he was the power puncher in the ring. You know, every time Quillin landed early, Andy Lee was a bit wobbly. We saw Andy Lee drop twice in the first round. As I say, only one was ruled as a knockdown, and a third time in the third round, I believe. The fight didn't gel very well stylistically, with the two guys having opposite stances. Neither of them really looked to jab their way in. Neither of them really looked to throw combination punches. Effectively, what this fight became is two guys fighting at range, looking to land one big bomb. Both were very tentative, knowing of the other guy's power. Both were looking to counterpunch when the other guy engaged. So what you had is large periods of inactivity in the fight, followed up by periods of, you know, quite a bit of activity when somebody came in and then the other guy tried to counterpunch, and the other guy tried to counterpunch back, if you like. After 5 rounds, I had Quillin 6 up. I scored one round 10-10, and obviously there was the 2 knockdowns that made Quillin win 2 rounds 10-8. So I had Quillin 6 up, and it looked like it was really getting away from Andy Lee. You know, Andy Lee just didn't look like he had the quality of Quillin. Andy Lee was looking a bit one-dimensional, and it looked just again like he perhaps had a puncher's chance. But from about the 6th, 7th round onwards, Andy Lee really steps on the gas. And from that point onwards, with the exception of one round, which I think may have been the 9th or the 10th, I pretty much scored everything to Andy Lee. The problem with Quillin was his activity, his output, his volume, however you want to phrase it. It was so low. There was no jab at all. There was no effort for Quillin to try and work on the inside. There was no effort from Quillin to punch to the body. No effort from Quillin to throw combinations. And it ended up being a very disappointing performance from Quillin, despite an extremely impressive start with his accuracy and with his power. Effectively, Quillin followed Andy Lee round the ring and allowed Andy Lee to, score rounds boxing on the back foot through sheer activity, really. Lee drops Quillin in one of the sort of middle to late rounds, but Quillin's up early. It didn't look like Quillin was overly hurt, if I'm honest. And I think the score of a draw had to be fair in hindsight. I mean, what for me is amazing here is I think that Quillin looked the better fighter across the board in my eyes. He looked the much bigger man. He looked like a super middleweight versus a light middleweight. He looked the much harder puncher. He looked the much more durable. He looked less likely to get knocked out by the opponent. He looked more accurate. He looked more technical. He had everything going for him. He was pushing the momentum. He was the come forward fighter. It really should have been an easy night for Peter Quillin, but unfortunately, his tendency to go low volume, his tendency to, be looking for one power punch and not to rely on any combinations, just pure headhunting cost him the fight here. It really did cost him the fight. And fair play to Andy Lee for having immense durability to get through those 2 knockdowns. Fair play for Andy Lee for apparently being the fitter man and battling through against the odds, against the bigger, more skilled, harder punching opponent. Where does this leave both guys? Well, for my eyes, Quillin had 2 problems. And I said it wouldn't be till the fight night that we found this out. But problem 1 is he too big for 160 now? Did training to try and make the weight, which he still missed by half a pound, but did making that weight take it all out of him? Was that why he was so low output? Was that why his volume was so poor? Was that why he couldn't turn it on in the later half of the fight? So does he need to consider a higher weight class? That's option number one. Option number two is Quillin, I think he's 31, he's been out of the ring for a year. It's been a long time since he had a competitive fight. He's been filming Hollywood movies, doing stuff like that. You know, does he need to reevaluate his life and reevaluate where boxing sits within that life? It's a good question, I think. But it's difficult because, for me, Peter Quillin is still the number 2 middleweight out there. You know, Andy Lee, another performance where Andy Lee performed with, you know, extreme credit. Have to give him all the props in the world. But Andy Lee's so beatable. He's so beatable. All of the things we knew about him, being too small at 160, being a bit chinny at 160, being, you know, he can get outboxed at times. All of those things were clear in this fight. And from Andy Lee, even though he was the more active fighter, for me, still there were some volume concerns. I wanted to see, when Andy Lee threw the jab, it was really effective. I wanted to see him throwing the jab more. I wanted to see him doubling it up. You know, Quillin was tight at the weight. I wanted to see Andy Lee drop into the body. Andy Lee's movement, I think Barry Jones highlighted it in commentary. He kept circling them, you know, one way, and it was a bit one-dimensional. It was far from a perfect performance from Andy Lee. It still makes me think that he'll get beaten by other fighters in the division, and I'll do a video on that soon. But yeah, it was a bit of an odd fight. It was entertaining in its own way, a bit odd. I think a draw is the fairest result. I think Andy Lee definitely deserved a draw, and Quillin perhaps deserves to be punished with a draw for his weight issues. But for me, Quillin did look to be the superior fighter. Let me know your thoughts. I'm keen to discuss. Many thanks as always for watching.